Coming into number 10, we have the legend of the black-eyed children. Forget the black-eyed peas, meet the black-eyed children. I've said it before, I'll say it again, children ghosts creep me out. They're the worst kinds of ghosts. Kids are creepy, end of really, but kid ghosts, ah. Apparently there are some kind of creepy black-eyed children stalking the streets of Abilene in Texas. The story comes from a local journalist, Brian Bethel, who said that in 1996 he was in the parking lot of a movie theater when he popped on his inner car light to write a check. Ah, 96 and checks. See, this wouldn't happen now. 2 words. E-transfer. Wait, is that 1 word? Either way, I absolutely knew that archaic banking was a road to evil. Back to the story. Noticing the light in his car, 2 kids came up to his window, which he rolled down to see what they wanted. Now the kids looked between 9 and 12 years old, and they asked him for a ride. He said they had a very uneasy feeling about them, and after a while he noticed that their eyes were totally black. He wound up his window and got the heck out of there, but his story was enough to go down in Abilene legend. Coming in at number 9, we have the Candy Lady. Who loves candy? I love candy. Get me a dip and dab and a strawberry lace. Although we have to say the Candy Lady of Texas is enough to make me give up caramels for life, which is a shame because caramel's such a dream. So the Candy Lady is said to have been a woman called Clara Crane. She lived in Texas around the turn of the 20th century. She was said to have been married to an older man, and the pair had a child called Marcella. Sadly, Marcella was killed in a freak accident, and Clara blamed her husband and then went mad, reportedly killing him with poisoned caramel. She was then taken to North Texas Asylum but released a few years later. This is when candy started showing up on windowsills, luring in kids. Later, a number of across the state went missing, and one farmer was said to have found rotten teeth in a caramel wrapper on his land. The urban legend goes that the Candy Lady will start by leaving candy to win their trust. Then she'll abduct them and stab them with a fork. I shouldn't laugh, but forks are kind of like the comedy side of utensils, right? From Candy Lady to Donkey Lady at number 8. Donkey Lady, now I've heard it all. Apparently ye olde Donkey Lady haunts a bridge over Elm Creek in San Antonio, Texas. The origin story of the ghost dates back almost 200 years to the mid-1800s. When settlers were living on the banks of Elm Creek, a husband and wife had a small wooden farmhouse and were making a living with a small number of livestock. One day, one of their donkeys or mules was grazing in the area when a young man from the town came across it. This man was not a nice man, but he was a wealthy man. He was the son of an important town leader. The young man teased the donkey and hit it with a stick, to which the donkey fairly responded by biting him. I'd bite someone if they hit me with a stick too. Retaliating, the man started heavily beating the donkey. Hearing their mule being attacked, the couple emerged and told the man to get away, throwing rocks at him for hurting their valuable animal. The man had a bit of Prince Joffrey entitlement moment, and he screamed that his father would hear about this, and to be honest, hear about it he did. He brought a bunch of friends to the farmhouse to torch the place. When the husband intervened, he was shot. The wife's dress caught fire and she helplessly watched her loved ones die. As she was engulfed in flames, she screamed, running down the road. She began to burn as she threw herself into the creek. Her body was never found, but her wails are said to still be heard along the stretch of the road. If a car stops for too long, it is said that she appears screaming with her arms outstretched on the bridge. Some even report a body falling on the bonnet of the car, but when they stop, there's nothing there. Coming into number 7, we have Arlington's Screaming Bridge / Hell's Gate. According to many Texans, going down the Arlington Screaming Bridge and listening out for the shrieks of the dead is some kind of local rite of passage. On a winter's night in 1961, a car full of 6 Arlington girls fell off a burned out wooden bridge and onto the rail tracks next to a creek. This creek had a little bridge over it that's still there today. Now the driver didn't realize that the bridge was out, drove over it, crashed. 3 of the girls died as a result of the impact. 1 suffered a brain injury and 2 others were injured. Those responsible for burning the bridge were 4 boys who went to the same high school as the girls, resulting in a big local scandal and tragedy. The bridge over the creek still stands, and people refer to it as the Screaming Bridge in memory of the girls who died. The spot near the bridge may also be cursed. In 1994, 2 people were killed in a truck when the driver tried to outrace a train at the crossing. Curse or just idiocy? I don't know. Coming into number 6, we have the White Lady of Rio Frio. So the Frio River is a beautiful spot near Rio Frio in Texas. On a summer's day, you may see picnickers hanging out by the water enjoying the weather, but some say they've had a far spookier experience. Many people that visit the Frio River have reported a strange white mist hovering over the water. Some say it's a strange microclimate, but others cite the story of the Lady of Frio. The story goes that back in the 1900s, a young girl called Maria Juarez was the prettiest girl in the canyon. She was young and had an elder sister whom she loved deeply. Her sister had children with a man called Gregorio, who unfortunately cared more about Maria than a sister-in-law. Maria helped raise her sister's children and dreamed that someday she would meet someone, marry them, and have kids of her very own. She thought all of her dreams had come true when she met Anselmo, a dashing young man who seemed to return her affections. Sadly, this angered Gregorio, who told Maria that he loved her and wanted to be with her. When she rebuffed him because of her sister and Anselmo, he shot her by the lake. Now, her spirit is said to haunt the spot to this day. Adding a level of legitimacy to the story, there is an unmarked grave in a Frio cemetery said to belong to Maria, the white lady who died an unmarried virgin. Coming into number 5, we have El Muerto. The El Muerto tale is truly terrifying. Back during the gold rush era, people thought that there was gold to be found in Texas. On top of that, the USA-Mexico border was hotly contested around this area, with an area of no man's land between the two countries. In this area, bandits were rife and Texas Rangers were around to keep them in check. One ranger, William Bigfoot Wallace, wanted to teach the bandits a lesson after one persistent criminal, known simply as Vidal, stole a bunch of Mustang horses. When he was in court, Bigfoot Wallace and his ranger friends chopped off Vidal. This was supposed to teach other would-be bandits a lesson not to mess with the Texas Rangers. Some poor sod then had to deal with finding the horse and its deceased cargo, which would be absolutely awful. Despite eventually being taken down from the horse, legend has it that Vidal rides on through the Rio Grande area today, and his ghost is dubbed as El Muerto. Coming into number 4, we have the dancing devil of El Cameroncito. A dancing Texas urban legend. I am so down for this. Apparently the dancing devil is local only to El Cameroncito, so ladies of other towns, no worries if a man is asking you to dance, you're probably safe. Ladies in Cameroncito though, watch out. So basically a legend has it that in the 1970s, a man in a dapper suit would ask beautiful ladies to dance with him. While they didn't find him beautiful, they felt compelled to dance. As he danced, women would be swept up. One day, a woman noticed the man she was dancing with had hooves for feet and that everyone near them was staring in horror. Realizing she was dancing with the devil, she ran away. The devil, however, remained. Now, I always keep my demons in my dancing shoes. Coming into number 3, we have Goat Man. Goat Man, Goat Man, Goat Man, Goat Man. Fun to say, fun to talk about. There are a couple of legends surrounding the Goat Man of Old Alton Bridge in Denton County. The bridge is locally dubbed Goatman's Bridge, and some say that is because there is a goat-like demon that haunts the nearby forest. But others turn to a more elaborate tale of a local goat farmer. Oscar Washburn was a black goat farmer who was known for being an honest businessman, and he was a well-liked member of the community. Unfortunately, a successful black man caught the attention of who was said to have abducted him in August 1938. Reportedly, threw him over the Old Alton Bridge into the river below. When they went to bring up his body, they found that the noose was empty. Washburn's body was never found, but a lot of paranormal enthusiasts will tell you that if you drive out over the bridge at night without your headlights on, the old goat man will be standing on the other side to greet you. Some also report being touched or grabbed by a spirit, and others say there are weird flashing lights in the nearby forest. Coming into number 2, we have the ghost of Fort Phantom Hill. Fort Phantom is one of the most well-preserved historic sites in Texas, with original architecture dating back to the mid-1850s. Fort Phantom was built as a safe stop for immigrants headed to the Californian gold fields. The story behind the name of Phantom Hill seems to be twofold. On the one hand, the fort is said to look really high up on a plateau from afar, but when you get close, it looks level, so it disappears like a phantom. The other story is that one night while a sentry was keeping watch, he fired on a Native American who was on the hill. When he went to go and investigate, he didn't find a body. When the team at the whole fort went out to look for a band, they couldn't find any evidence of them ever being nearby. This ghost on the hill is said to re-emerge every now and then, confusing those who watch from the garrison. Finally, coming into number 1, we have one of the most well-known Texas urban legends ever. We have the Houston Batman. So first, I was like, Batman? Hell yes, get me there. But then I delved further into this legend and I realized that they don't mean like the superhero. No. The Houston Batman is also known as the Houston Horror and is a winged creature that has regularly been sighted in Houston, Texas. Now this creature is a bit like the Mothman of the Mothman prophecies, and I don't like a big moth. The story of the winged menace dates back to 1953 when a woman and her neighbors were sitting on their porch in East 3rd Street, Houston. 23-year-old housewife Hilda Walker said she looked up over the lawn and saw the shadow of a huge moth. When she looked up, she saw something huge then fly into a pecan tree. Her and her neighbors thought that the monster was around 6.5 feet tall, although they weren't totally sure what they'd seen. 14-year-old Judy Mayer, who was also sat on the porch, screamed in fear as she got a square-on look at the monster. He was described as a man, but with wings, huge wings, and a weird, strange yellow haze around him. Mrs. Walker reported the incident to the police and spoke to local news outlets. The Batman/Mothman may have been spotted once again by Houston Bel Air theater workers in the 1990s, and the legend lives on today. Some suspect a government cover-up is at play, as vigilantes seeking the Batman discovered that some years after the initial incident, Mrs. Walker's neighborhood was raised to make way for a new part of the interstate. Alright, coming in at number 10 we have Lechuza. Ooh, I love a good owl, but this one is not your average mouse catcher. Lechuza is a shape-shifting witch who flies through the night hunting for prey. While in flight, she may look like an owl. When a Lechuza is stopped, they have bird bodies and human faces, so basically a lot like a harpy. The women seem to be hybrid monsters, as in their human lives they were said to have sold their soul to the devil, who gave them intense magical powers in exchange for their souls. How do you know you're in the presence of a Lechuza? Well, they'll let you know by a series of whistling and baby noises. Those who try and investigate what the noises are will likely become dinner for the owly she-witches. Not great. Coming in at number 9 we have the Chupacabra. Ah, the legend of the Chupacabra. This one isn't constricted to Texas alone. The Chupacabra story first sprang up in Puerto Rico. It is said to be a blood-sucking monster from the deep that attacks animals and drinks the blood of livestock, especially goats, which is why the creature's name translates to goat sucker in Spanish. Anyway, in Texas, reports of the Chupacabra were rife in the year 2007 when a woman named Phyllis Canyon reported seeing one of the blood-sucking monsters at her ranch in South Texas. She also reportedly found a number of chickens with their throats torn open. This sparked a whole Chupacabra panic, and the legend of the beast was firmly consolidated in the Lone Star State lore. Coming into number 8 we have the Chinese cemetery. There is a strange urban legend surrounding a 7-foot-tall ghost and her lover at the Lona China Cemetery in Texas. This isn't just your classic ghost haunting in a graveyard, except actually I guess it is, only there's a freakishly tall ghost. The story goes that a man wanted to run away with his lover of Chinese descent, but he was forbade by his great-grandfather who owned the cemetery. The issue here was an issue of race. The man was Anglo-Hispanic, but his granddie didn't want him mixing. I bet that old racist isn't pleased that the cemetery is now called the Chinese cemetery. Hey. Anyway, both the ghost of the tall woman and the man are said to roam the cemetery at night looking for one another, but sadly they never quite meet, which is pretty depressing. Apparently the female has been known to reach out and touch you, thinking that you might be the lost love. Sends shivers up my spine. Ooh. Coming in at number 7 we have the legend of Mansion. Not the most politically correct name, but it seems that Mansion is the name this urban legend is best known by in San Antonio. It seems that the house in question is a mansion with low-hanging fixtures and ceilings custom built for a family of small people. A husband and a wife and their children took up residency in this home. The father was said to be a respected businessman in the 1920s and was well liked in the community, who found him to be a novel addition. It seems sadly the man went mad one day and murdered his entire family. What with the murders and the odd size of the home, nobody really wanted to buy it, so it fell into disrepair. It seems that the ghostly sounds emanating from the building and strange shadows lurked for many years. A lot of people who went to the abandoned house felt a malicious presence. From my research, it seems that the old house has finally been pulled down in favor of condos. However, the ghostly presence, the trauma of the family left behind, is apparently still rife in folklore. Coming into number 6 we have El Kakui. Am I saying this right, Texas? Let me know, because I'm just a humble British gal who has no idea really. So these urban legends come around so much, I honestly feel like in every country and within that a lot of provinces and states have their own version. El Kakui is a Texan bogeyman, but worse apparently. Now the legend describes the beast as male, small, humanoid with glowing red eyes. El Kakui hides in closets and under beds and comes for naughty children in the night. While this does seem like your classic boogeyman stuff, it seems that there have been some reports reported sightings of El Kakui over the years. Now this leads me to think that actually, maybe there is something more to this urban legend after all. Coming into number 5, we have the Hitchhiker of White Rock. This legend comes from White Rock Lake in northeast Dallas, where reportedly a 20-year-old girl committed in the lake in the 1930s. Nobody knows why she took her own life, although many suspect it was as a result of heartache. It's always heartache, isn't it? To this day, people report seeing a woman standing by the lake in a wet dress. She stops cars that drive by and asks for a ride. Now, if you refuse her, an accident will likely befall you, but if you say yes, she will vanish in the back of your car, leaving just a puddle. Coming into number 4, we have the South Texas Headless Horseman. During Halloween in San Patricio, you could enjoy a haunted hayride as you hear the ghostly legends of the Headless Horseman. It seems that in the 1800s, a wealthy man from Kentucky came to Texas to make his fortune. He was buying up land and his last stop was the town of San Patricio. Unfortunately for him, his wagon was looted and he lost both his gold and his head to thieves. To this day, his headless body is said to ride the stretch from Matthias to San Patricio. Coming into number 3, we have Demon's Road. It just isn't an urban legend video without a spooky haunted road, is it? No. It's not. In Huntsville, Texas, there is a stretch of road called Bowden Road, although locals will tell you that it's called Demon's Road. Why? Well, because of the demonic things that have reportedly happened along it. Oh, and there's a cemetery at the end of the road, which doesn't really help matters. A whole bunch of Huntsville residents have had weird experiences along the road or seen strange things, but this isn't just your average haunted road. It seems that oftentimes specters will follow people home. One popular story associated with Demon's Road is that a woman was visiting the cemetery at the end of the road when she saw a man lurking. Now, the man was acting a bit weirdly, he was pacing up and down, but she didn't pay him much attention. After that, as she was journeying home, she thought she saw the same man walking on the road, but once again, she just ignored it. When she got home, however, she thought she saw the same man staring at her from her bathroom mirror while she was in the shower. She screamed, he disappeared, and she never saw him again. Creepy. Coming into number 2, we have the Killer Nurse Ghost. Deep within the halls of Bexar County Hospital, still a fully functioning hospital in San Antonio, Texas, there is said to be a malicious spirit who kills patients at night. I had no idea that ghosts could actually kill, and I'm not happy about this turn of events. The legend goes that the nurse wanders the halls at night and kills patients in their room in consecutive room number order. Patients who were seemingly getting better would simply drop down dead, but before they died, they would report speaking to a particular nurse, although none of the ward staff knew who that was. When CCTV footage was checked, it seems that all the patients who died were seen to be talking to thin air. It is likely that this urban legend is inspired by the real-life killer nurse, Janine Jones, a serial killer nurse at the Bexar County Hospital, who did actually use lethal drug cocktails to murder. Finally, coming into number 1, we have La Lorna. Part banshee, part horse, La Lorna is a famous female spirit that haunts El Paso. She roams the banks of Rio Grande, causing havoc. It is said that she herself down by the river because she was jilted by her ex-lover who didn't want to marry her because he simply couldn't accept her kids. What a nasty man. Heartbroken and crazed, obviously killing will be an emotional ordeal, and it seems that that emotion has carried on through into the afterlife. She's now heard wailing by the river. When she has been spotted, she is seen with the head of a horse and the body of a human. What's going on there? Honestly, I don't know. In the area, people are warned from going down to the river late at night as La Lorna will force you to keep her company, whatever that means. In 2019, New Line Cinema are set to release a Hollywood adaptation of this called The Curse of La Lorna, so that's pretty exciting. A Hollywood movie made out of Texas urban legends. Great!
Number 10. Summit Elementary School. This place is legendary for having the worst child art ever. It's said that the art made by the kids here is so awful that if you put it on your fridge will break down and you'll have to spend thousands of dollars on a new fridge. No, I'm just kidding, that's not the actual urban legend. It's way worse than that. The Summit Elementary School is an abandoned school and is one of the most haunted places in Texas. Nobody dares venture near it, except for those ghost hunter guys with goatees. There's a bunch of creepy stories tied to this place. It's said to be a very common stop for people who would commit murders in Texas? No way. Another part of the legend is that there's bodies stuffed into the walls. I would imagine that's terrible for the air quality. And on top of all this, there was a janitor who used to work there who would apparently throw in the boiler. There was a straight up Freddy Krueger at this school, but apparently they had a great Spanish program. Number 9, the fanged baby. Dude, this sounds like an opening to an X-Men movie. He had fangs, could crawl up walls, and do sick flips and stuff. I mean, I would want this kid. He would have a dope Instagram account of him doing a bunch of cool feral stuff, like hunting rabbits and seeing in the dark, and then he would be on Ellen. It would be like little Hank Williams times 1,000. Unfortunately, this urban legend doesn't end with you walking onto the stage of a talk show. This one follows a group of guys who were driving home from a camping trip when they saw something jump into the road. They swerved and missed it, but a few people in the car could have sworn that it was a little baby with fangs and blood all over its mouth. One of the guys was a little too curious and went back the next day to check it out. When he got to the spot, one of his tires blew, so he had to change it. After changing it, he was pretty exhausted by the whole ordeal, so he decided to take a nap in his truck. He woke up with a fanged toddler sitting in his lap. It then bit him in the neck and took off out the window. That dude should probably get that bite checked out. Nobody wants baby rabies. Number 8, theater center. This would make horror movies so much better. I imagine you get to watch a movie about ghosts in a place that's actually haunted by ghosts. Amazing. The theater center is apparently haunted by the ghost of an usher. The usher was killed in the theater by a jealous boyfriend when he was stabbed. On the bright side, this would mean you would get free movies for eternity. I mean, there's way worse places you could die. Imagine if you died in a paint store and then you had to haunt this place for the rest of time. The most exciting part of your day would be when they bring in the new fall colors. Wow, there's 11 shades of brown. Exciting. Number 7, Civil War ghost. I guess the benefits of being a ghost after a war is you get to see how everything happened. You're either like, I can't believe what the world has come to, or you're like, man, I was really the bad guy this whole time. Over on the Thompson Island Bridge in San Marcos, Texas, a Civil War ghost is taken post and he will never leave. The backstory on this ghoulie is he pops up whenever a war is happening. So for America, that means this guy's working overtime. Also, it said he can't leave because he made a promise to his brother that he'll make it home alive no matter what. I think it's time this guy took an L and just moved on to the afterlife. Next, we got Sarah Jane. We gotta go all the way back to the American Civil War. Sarah Jane was the wife of one of the soldiers fighting for the Confederates in the Civil War. One night she was in her home, she saw enemy soldiers approaching and she panicked and she was worried that the men would kill her, so she snatched up the baby, put it in a wicker basket. She then rushed down to the river and hid her baby right next to the river. Then she returned home. However, when she came back home, the soldiers were gone. So she returned to the river to find her baby, but the baby was also gone. The tide in the river had risen and swept the baby away. In a panic, she looked everywhere for her baby, running up to strangers, asking if anyone had seen her baby. Eventually, it was clear that her child was gone. So she walked down to the bridge next to the river and herself from the bridge. It said if you return there, you can hear a baby crying and Sarah Jane frantically looking for her baby. Ooh. Number 5, Marfa lights. We're jetting over to the little town of Marfa, Texas. In this little old country town, there's some pretty weird happenings appearing right in the sky. The Marfa lights are these balls of light that appear out of nowhere, like someone floating in midair is lighting off an M80. There has been so much speculation on what it could be. Some people think it's spirits floating around doing a little dance for the people watching. Just because you're dead doesn't mean you don't want attention. Other people think that it could be aliens. They think that they travel between this spot in Marfa and wherever these aliens have come from. They can use this spot to take samples of the earth, like a little school trip. But scientists have said that it's just balls of gas lighting up in the air. Boring scientists always ruining our fun. But hey, there's still hope that they're just trying to cover up some actual alien activity. Number 4, the haunted lighthouse of Boulevard Peninsula. Do we still need lighthouses for anything other than being giant creepy buildings and being the best place for seagulls to meet and poop? I know nothing about sea travel, so these might actually still be very important. But the lighthouse is more than just a seabird truck stop. It's haunted. The story behind this tale is the lighthouse used to be manned by a husband and wife with the help of their son. One day, maybe from too much sun or having to eat fish for dinner one too many times, the kid snapped and killed both his parents. And now the spirit haunts the halls or stairs or whatever a lighthouse has. The backstory on this is kind of loose. Some people swear it to be true, while others say it's just a tale made up by some kids who are stuck in a small town. The only way to find out would be to go to the lighthouse with some Monster Energy and a copy of Call of Duty and see if you can draw out the teen spirit. Number 3, Camp Lulu Sam's. Camp's great, guys. You make a bunch of friends, you do a bunch of arts and crafts, and occasionally one of the camp counselors will go crazy and murder everyone. Yay! Who needs sunscreen? The legend behind Camp Lulu Sam's is it was an all-girls camp, and one night one of the counselors lost their mind and killed a bunch of the people at the camp. It says you can still hear the screams when you're on the property at night. However, if you check the history books, there's nothing about a mass murder at the camp. So this might have been made up to spook some of the kids who come to stay there. Number 2. Bigfoot. Yes, I know Bigfoot was originally spotted in North Carolina, but there have been many sightings of the possible missing link in the Lone Star State. I mean, if you're a Bigfoot, I can't imagine you believe in borders. You just kind of go anywhere you please whenever you want and try to not get shot and make sure you're always out of focus. Although I do think that Texas would be one of the worst places for a Bigfoot to travel. They're covered in hair and Texas is almost always hot. There's cowboys and trackers all over the place who would probably love to hunt you down, and there's so many guns. I would definitely put Bigfoot on the list of things that are totally fine to shoot on sight. But the old ape man is really popular in Texas. There's even a group in Beeville called the Bee County Bigfoot Research Group that is dedicated to finding out the truth about Bigfoot. I wonder if they get paid for that, if they just do it out of the goodness of their hearts. Number 1. Ghost kids give you a hand. If you're ever in South San Antonio, don't park on any railroad tracks unless you want some unexpected help. This one is a pretty horrible sight. It of course takes place in San Antonio back in the 1930s when a bus got stuck on some railroad tracks. There was an incoming train that tried to stop in time but couldn't and slammed through the bus. Many were injured and 10 were left dead. These now haunt the area. If you make the strange choice to park on the railroad tracks, they will push your car off the tracks, preventing anyone from meeting the grisly fate that they did. You can even put baby powder on your bumper to see the little handprints. So creepy, but also the most helpful ghosts of all time. I would wonder if you got a flat tire if they would help you change it. I hope when I'm a ghost I'm this generous.